China's Tiangong, the Heavenly Palace, isn't just another orbital outpost. It's the most advanced human habitat ever placed in space. Floating roughly 400 kilometers above Earth, this bright, modular laboratory completes a full orbit every 90 minutes, carrying a rotating crew of Taikonauts who live, work, and eat in a station that looks more like a sleek sci-fi apartment than the aging hardware of the Cold War era. For decades, the International Space Station, the ISS, has been the crown jewel of human spaceflight, a massive collaboration spanning 5 agencies and more than a dozen nations. But the ISS is now more than 25 years old, and in its shadow, a new contender has risen. Between 2021 and 2022, China didn't just expand its spaceflight program, it built an entirely new space station from scratch in only 18 months. Not smaller, not simply newer, but more streamlined and more intelligent. So buckle up, because this is life inside China's Tiangong Space Station, the orbital hub redefining what human space living can be. Before Tiangong became reality, China's crewed space ambitions were modest. Early missions revolved around 2 small single-module labs, Tiangong 1 and Tiangong 2. These were stepping stones, proving grounds for docking, life support testing, and short-duration stay capability. But in April 2021, everything changed. China launched the Tianhe Core module, its name meaning Harmony of the Heavens. Stretching 16.6 meters long and 4.2 meters wide, Tianhe serves as the heart of the station, its control center, its power hub, and the living quarters for its crew. 1 year later, the station began rapidly expanding. In July 2022, China added the Wentian module, Quest for the Heavens. It delivered a brand new science lab, additional crew space, and a dedicated airlock designed for extravehicular activities, China's version of NASA's spacewalks. Then, in October 2022, the Mengtian module, Dreaming of the Heavens, docked with the growing structure, completing the station's signature T-shape. Mengtian is devoted almost entirely to research, housing advanced experiment racks and external mounting platforms for instruments studying everything from space materials to fluid physics. Each module was launched atop China's most powerful rocket, the Long March 5B. These massive components were lifted into orbit one by one, where robotic arms and precision docking systems executed a near-flawless assembly in space. A quiet but remarkable engineering performance. By December 2022, Tiangong reached another milestone, the first in-orbit crew handover between Shenzhou 14 and Shenzhou 15. For the first time, 6 Taikonauts lived and worked inside the station simultaneously, marking China's official shift to continuous human presence in low Earth orbit. Today, the Heavenly Palace is fully active, a 3-module T-shaped outpost circling Earth every hour and a half. And China says this is just phase 1 of its long-term human spaceflight strategy. Step inside Tiangong, and the first thing you notice isn't the size. It's the light, the clarity, the clean lines. Everything feels intentional. Many visitors say the interior feels less like a traditional space station and more like an Apple store drifting in orbit. Although Tiangong's modules share a similar diameter with those of the ISS, around 4.2 meters or 14 feet, their length is where China's design stands out. NASA's Destiny laboratory on the ISS is roughly 8.4 meters long, but China's Wentian and Mengtian modules each exceed 18 meters, more than double the internal volume. Fewer junctions, fewer cramped corridors, a much more seamless, open workspace. Inside, surfaces are wrapped in smooth white paneling that hides most of the wires and ventilation ducts that visually clutter the ISS. A significant portion of Tiangong's systems operate wirelessly, reducing the need for bulky routers and tangled cabling. From air filtration units to experiment racks, everything is modular, replaceable, and neatly integrated. The result is a minimal, futuristic environment. But this isn't just aesthetics. It serves purpose. Smooth panels are easier to clean. Bright LED lighting reduces eye strain. Uniformly lit walls create clearer video for live broadcasts and scientific demonstrations. Behind the sleek panels, a network of power lines and life support systems automatically reroute when faults are detected, Each module is connected through pressurized tunnels with independent environmental controls, meaning crew can isolate sections in seconds if there's a leak. Everything here, from the architecture to the lighting, is meant to make life in orbit feel calm and familiar. For Taikonauts spending months away from Earth, that mental stability is priceless. Aboard Tiangong, life follows a rhythm. At any given time, 3 crew members call the station home. During handovers, like in late 2022, that number jumps to 6. Every bunk filled, every workstation active, every meal seat occupied. Their day begins with a wake-up call from Mission Control in Beijing. Personal hygiene comes first. Rinse-free shampoo, wet wipes instead of showers. Then breakfast. Meals are vacuum-sealed, reheated, and individually labeled based on each astronaut's nutritional plan. Then comes the work. Morning hours are devoted to experiments, equipment checks, and maintenance tasks, tightening handrails, updating software, calibrating instruments. Late morning brings a live video briefing with scientists and engineers on Earth. Mission planners outline the day's objectives, approve research tasks, and schedule mandatory exercise sessions. Around midday, the crew takes a required 1-hour rest, a tradition deeply embedded in China's human spaceflight culture. Even astronauts need downtime before diving into an afternoon full of research across biology, materials science, and fluid physics experiments. Exercise is mandatory aboard Tiangong, at least 2 hours every day, to counter the muscle and bone loss caused by microgravity. Evenings are more relaxed, dinner together, often including favorites like kung pao chicken, braised pork, or dumplings. Afterward, Taikonauts may stream a TV show, read, or send video messages to family. Sometimes they host short live streams to show people on Earth what daily life inside their heavenly palace is truly like. When it's time to sleep, each crew member heads to their private sleeping alcove. There are 6 total, 3 in the Tianhe core module and 3 in Wentian. Each one is about the size of a small closet, lined with acoustic insulation to dampen noise. Taikonauts secure themselves inside sleeping bags mounted vertically on the wall, floating gently as they fall asleep while orbiting Earth at nearly 28,000 kilometers per hour. Inside each sleeping pod is a small tablet for video calls, personal photos, and, for the lucky few, a tiny window offering the most breathtaking view any human could ask for. Food in space has evolved dramatically since the early days of toothpaste tubes and dehydrated powders. Inside Tiangong, the menu resembles that of a compact restaurant with more than 120 carefully engineered meals designed for both nutrition and comfort. Rice dishes, noodles, pork, chicken, fish, vegetables, soups, all pre-cooked, vacuum-sealed, and labeled for rotation. Every dish must endure months of storage and survive the violent shaking of launch. Every few months, Tianzhou cargo ships dock with the station, delivering scientific equipment and fresh produce. Apples, oranges, cherry tomatoes, and leafy greens provide a vital taste of home for astronauts living hundreds of kilometers above Earth. But the real breakthrough sits quietly in the galley. Right beside the fold-out dining table is a technology no other space station has ever had: the world's first microwave oven, designed specifically for orbit. Developed by Gallans Aerospace, this low-power microwave took nearly a decade of engineering to perfect. Unlike home microwaves that draw significant power, this one uses extremely low wattage and is engineered to withstand radiation and intense launch vibrations. On the ISS, astronauts use a warm water rehydrator, a process that can take 30 minutes to heat a single meal. Tiangong's microwave can heat dinner for 3 astronauts in just 7 minutes. It might sound minor, but in space, it's revolutionary. Hot meals provide comfort, stability, and psychological warmth, an essential boost during months-long missions far from Earth. Zero gravity might look effortless on camera, astronauts gracefully floating through modules, but the reality is far more demanding. Without gravity, muscles atrophy, bones weaken, and cardiovascular strength declines rapidly. That's why Tiangong's exercise regimen is strict. Every taikonaut spends at least 2 hours each day training. Their gym is compact, but cutting edge. In the Tianhe core module, A treadmill and cycling station are bolted directly to the structure. Elastic harnesses keep astronauts anchored as they jog. Soft straps absorb impact so the entire station doesn't shake with each step. In the Mengtian module, China has installed a rowing and resistance training system. It's streamlined alternative to the ISS's massive ARED machine, which can simulate up to 600 pounds of force. Tiangong's version is smaller, more energy efficient, and designed to offer comparable muscle training in a fraction of the volume. A closer look at footage from inside Tiangong reveals footholds and straps lining the floors and walls. Unlike the free-floating environment commonly seen on the ISS, Taikonauts often choose to anchor themselves while working. This gives their brains a consistent, downward reference, reducing motion sickness and improving coordination during long missions. And while details remain limited, prototype research from CNSA suggests the development of smart exercise suits, clothing embedded with light resistance bands that provide constant muscle engagement during routine tasks. Think of it as a wearable gym, a subtle, futuristic adaptation to protect the human body in microgravity. Inside Tiangong, every heartbeat, every flex of muscle, every drop of sweat contributes to a broader mission, not simply to survive in space, but to understand how humans can truly live there. At its core, Tiangong is more than a home. It's a scientific machine designed to study how life and matter behave in microgravity. Across its 3 modules, the station houses 23 internal experiment racks and roughly 50 external mounting platforms for instruments attached directly to the hull. For a station of its size, that's an extraordinary science density. Nearly every cubic meter serves a purpose. The research fields are extensive. Fluid physics experiments explore how liquids move without gravity's pull. Combustion studies test flame behavior in an environment where up does not exist. Material science experiments examine alloys, crystals, and semiconductors that can only form in microgravity. Biology and medical studies reveal how cells, including human ones, adapt or fail to adapt to the vacuum of space. One of Tiangong's most innovative systems sits inside the Mengtian module, a dedicated experiment airlock. Astronauts can set up scientific payloads inside, place them in a sealed chamber, and with the touch of a button, depressurize the compartment. A robotic arm outside the station retrieves or installs the experiment on Tiangong's exterior, eliminating the need for bulky spacewalks. Inside the station, the crew is also cultivating plants, lettuce, leafy greens, and experimental crops grown in hydroponic trays. The objective is long-term sustainability. Future systems will test integrated oxygen recycling combined with plant growth, foundational technologies required for months-long or years-long deep space missions. But Tiangong is not advancing science alone. In 2023, 9 international research projects were approved in partnership with the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs and the European Space Agency. These programs explore everything from radiation shielding to protein crystallization to cosmic dust analysis. Proof that China's orbital lab is increasingly opening its doors to the global scientific community. From the outside, Tiangong may look compact, but inside, it carries the scientific ambitions of an entire nation and data that could shape humanity's future beyond Earth. As hinted earlier, Tiangong's robotics are among its most impressive features. If science is the heart of the station, then its robotic arms are the hands that make everything possible. Tiangong is equipped with 3 EVA suits stored inside the Wentian module's airlock, each one custom-tailored to its user and capable of supporting up to 8 hours of continuous spacewalk activity. EVAs have become routine operations aboard the station, essential for installing equipment, performing repairs, and expanding hardware in the harsh vacuum outside. Supporting these missions are 2 robotic giants. The Tianhe Core module houses a 10-meter robotic arm, while the Wentian module adds a second 5-meter arm. Individually, they're powerful tools, but together, they can interlock to form a single 15-meter system, comparable to the legendary Canadarm2 used on the International Space Station. These arms do far more than lift heavy payloads. They grasp experiment modules, assist Taikonauts during EVAs, reposition docking spacecraft, and help install external science packages. In recent spacewalks, the arms played a key role in attaching handrails and connectors across the station's hull, creating safer pathways for future missions. Each segment of the arm can bend, rotate, and extend with millimeter-level precision. Operators inside Tiangong, or mission controllers on Earth, can guide each movement remotely. In theory, these robotic limbs may eventually be capable of grappling entire modules or autonomously supporting the construction of China's next-generation space habitats. They are, quite literally, extensions of human hands, able to work longer, reach farther, and withstand environments no astronaut ever could. Through these robotic systems, Tiangong becomes more than just a structure. It becomes a living machine, evolving, expanding, and refining itself one orbit at a time. But Tiangong isn't finished. In fact, China considers this only the beginning. The China Manned Space Agency has unveiled Phase 2, a plan to double the station's size within the coming years. The expansion begins with a multi-docking hub that will be attached to the forward end of the Tianhe core module. This adapter will allow 3 new laboratories to connect, transforming Tiangong from its current 3-module layout into a 6-module complex. The station's total habitable volume would increase dramatically, from roughly 20% of the ISS's volume to nearly 40%. Once complete, the structure will resemble 2 T-shapes stacked into a cross-like configuration, offering more docking ports for cargo ships, visiting spacecraft, and scientific payloads. To construct this next phase, China plans to rely again on its heavy-lift Long March 5B rockets, the same boosters that launched the original modules between 2021 and 2022. Engineers are also considering the integration of a backup Tianhe core module, originally built as a contingency, which could serve as a redundant command center and secondary living space if installed. But expansion isn't only about hardware, it's about people. China has confirmed that Pakistan's first astronaut candidate is already training for a future Tiangong mission. Discussions with additional nations are underway, as Beijing aims to establish Tiangong as a shared platform for countries that have historically lacked access to human spaceflight opportunities. Orbiting nearby, another major asset is preparing to join this orbital ecosystem, the Zhutian Space Telescope, sometimes referred to as the Chinese Hubble. Slated for launch around 2026, Zhutian will feature a 2-meter primary mirror and an extraordinary 2.5 gigapixel camera with a field of view 300 times wider than the Hubble Space Telescope. What makes Zhutian truly groundbreaking is not just its power, but its mobility. Unlike Hubble, which required risky shuttle servicing missions, Zhutian will share almost the same orbit as Tiangong. It will be able to dock periodically with the station for refueling, upgrades, or maintenance, something no Western space telescope has ever been capable of. Together, Tiangong and Zhutian will form the backbone of China's orbital science network, pairing human presence with robotic observation, machine precision with astronaut intuition, and establishing a long-term blueprint for how nations may build multi-platform laboratories in low Earth orbit. As China expands its foothold in space, Tiangong stands as both a technological achievement and a symbol of ambition. It represents not just where China is today, but where it plans to go. Deeper into orbit, onward to the moon, and eventually towards sustained human activity across the solar system. In the end, Tiangong is far more than a space station. It is a statement, a declaration that China intends not only to participate in humanity's future in space, but to help shape it. Every orbit, every experiment, every spacewalk adds another piece to a rapidly growing puzzle. How do humans build a sustainable life beyond Earth? Tiangong is China's answer, a living laboratory, a proving ground, a launching point for the next era of exploration. And as it continues to expand with new modules, new international partners, and one of the most advanced space telescopes ever built, one thing is clear: the Heavenly Palace is only the beginning.